Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that kind welcome. I understand you've been here since Wednesday. I'm amazed that you're all up so early today. I saw Al King out with a few at a bar last night. There's Al. I'll make sure you made it. It really is a privilege to be here with you today, and I'm very grateful for the invitation. I can only imagine the hundreds of thousands and maybe even millions of hours that the people in this room have committed to the future of our children and to our communities. So let me start by thanking you for volunteering to lead in this critical effort that's so important for the future of our state. I think your motivation is probably very similar to mine. Our goal that was confirmed earlier this year by the legislature is simple but certainly ambitious. And that goal is that by 2025, all of our children in Oregon will be ready to learn when they reach kindergarten, will be ready to read when they go to first grade, and will be reading when they leave first grade, and will be reading at level when they leave the third grade. A system where children have the resources and attention to learn, and teachers have the time and the support to teach, where our dropout rates are reducing and our graduation rates are climbing, where every Oregon high school graduate is ready for a post-secondary education or experience without remediation, where 80% of our high school graduates get at least 2 years of post-secondary education, and another 40% get at least a baccalaureate degree or higher. The fact is that we have to change the way we do business in order to keep up with the changing world. And we want our graduates to make sure and feel confident that they have career paths to family wage jobs that can drive our per capita income back up above the national average in every corner of our state. We want them to be ready to contribute to our society and to our economy. And to succeed, it seems to me we need to invest in an educational system that's better designed for the realities of the 21st century, and one that seeks to integrate early childhood services with primary and secondary education and post-secondary education and training. Now, we all know the shortcomings of our system. It's a litany that we've heard many times before. Far too many children every September arrive in your kindergarten classes not ready to learn. And every June, too few students earn their diploma, and even too few go on to post-secondary education or training. And our community colleges spend 20% of their capacity on remediation, rebuilding the skills and the knowledge that we would have expected children would have mastered in our high schools. The end result is a generation of students, not just in this state, but across the country, who are less well educated than their parents' generation. So just when the global economy requires a higher level of skill and knowledge than ever before, we're falling behind. Can we do a better job? That's not the question. We have to do a better job. That may be a controversial statement to make in a room full of people who know that each year painful budget decisions come down to you and your votes, often in crowded rooms filled with unhappy students and parents and staff and community members and your families and friends. I also don't doubt that we could do better if we had more resources. I've said it before and I'll say it again, our system of public education is underfunded at absolutely every level. And I have recently convened leaders from both the labor community and the business community to try to rebuild a coalition to put the whole issue of our system of public finance back on the front burner. But if we can do better with the resources we have during tough times, we can lay a foundation to truly excel during good times, because I firmly believe that better times will come, that Oregon's best days still lie ahead. Our economy will recover. We will bring more resources back to the classrooms, or our schools, our colleges, our universities, our early childhood programs, and we will bend down the cost of health care, which we've actually done in this budget. And I will continue to relentlessly push on health care reform so that we can spend more money on prevention and wellness and education rather than on a broken sick care system. You also know that our public safety system, our correction system, is also cannibalizing our education budget as we pour millions and millions of dollars into our correction system and less into children and into families and into the education that could actually address the social ills that lead to criminal behavior in the first place. You may not know this, but over the past 8 years, investments or spending in these two areas, in public safety and healthcare, have grown 3 times faster than investments in education. And that's something that simply has to be turned around. We have to change that for our children, for our communities, and for our economic vitality, and I fully intend to do so with your help. But economic recovery, reducing the cost of health care and the cost of corrections and even revenue reform are longer-term propositions. Today, we have what we have. And in lean times, in times of limited resources, where we invest truly matters. And you prove that on a daily basis. Over the last 10 years, you've been asked to cut and cut again your local school district budget, but you've also invested in new programs and in new practices that shift money to what works. And I'd like to take a moment and just list a couple of those because I think they're very, very significant. In Woodburn and Park Rose and other districts, you've been spending money on full-day kindergarten because you know that investing in a good start for our children helps close the achievement gap and reduces remediation costs later on in their school experience. And in fact, Oregon funding for full-time kindergarten has increased 3 times, tripled over the last 7 years, even in the face of these difficult budget times. In Tigard Tualatin, actually I think it started there and then spreading throughout the system, there's an increased investment in response to intervention efforts, where professional development and a system of interventions make sure kids are remaining on track both academically and behaviorally. In Tigard Tualatin, the special ed identification is significantly lower than the statewide average, and leaders are spreading this practice out to other parts of our state. And again, this is an example of investing in success of children during difficult economic times. And in many, many districts, you have carved out times for teachers to collaborate in a professional learning community. Again, despite budget cuts and budget pressures, because you understand that planning and professional development is a key to making sure that our teachers can do the very best they can for our students. Two-way language immersion classes, which have been very, very useful for English language learners in math and in reading, are cropping up in Portland and Woodburn, North Clackamas, Salem, and many, many other districts. And of particular significance, you have all protected and in many cases even expanded critical supports to help high school students actually graduate and go on to college through dual credit courses, through summer and day extension programs, through programs such as Abbott that helps first and family students actually head off to college. And you've invested in those programs even as high school class sizes have drifted up to unheard of levels. My point is that even in a time of inadequate funding over the last decade, you have carved out resources to fund these programs at work. Now, you may not have called this outcomes-based investing, but essentially that's what it is. And that's the direction we're trying to move our entire system. We have islands of excellence throughout our system of public education in Oregon. Now we need to create a culture of excellence across the system. We need to create a seamless system from early childhood through post-secondary education and training. And we have to create pathways for students that actually motivate them and pull them along to achieve their highest potential and break down the silos between our institutions and invest in a system that allows us to deliver the outcomes that we want for our students. At the state level, we all know that investment in the success of children very, very early has huge dividends down the road in greater educational success, in better employment rates, and much less likelihood to be involved in the criminal justice system or need social supports. Yet 40% of the kids who are born in our state every year are considered to be at risk. They're living in poverty, they have unstable family backgrounds, they have parents who are involved in the criminal justice system or who have a problem with substances. Under the plan being developed by the early learning councils, these families and others in need will have caseworkers, which we're calling family resource managers, that will ensure that they get access to the services they need so that their children will be ready to learn when they reach kindergarten. This year, we've seen an 11% increase in the number of kids attending our state Head Start pre-kindergarten program, but there's still a lot more to be done. The Early Childhood Council will seek to integrate existing programs, and we've also applied for a Race to the Top Early Learning Development Challenge Grant that would help increase the quality of Oregon's early learning and development programs, make sure that the families with highest needs actually get access to these programs, and ensure that all children enter school ready to learn and succeed academically. And we all know what a tremendous difference that would make in the lives of our students as they progress through our system of public education. We're also seeking a waiver from the punitive aspects of the No Child Left Behind law. We can clearly do better. Now, there are certainly some positive aspects of that legislation, the accountability that we should certainly expect from the investment of public dollars, and the call to educate all children, regardless of ethnicity or home language or disability or family income. The problem, as you know too well, that these ideas have been twisted under the NCLB with its relentless focus on high-stakes testing. It's narrowed the curriculum, it's labeled schools and teachers and districts as failures. It's prescribed solutions that have actually made the damage even worse. And it's targeted the schools and staff that are working most directly with the students that have the greatest needs, laying a heavy and unwarranted responsibility to schools for solving all the social ills that these children bring with them when they walk through the front door. So we're looking forward to working with Secretary Duncan to develop a waiver for our state that establishes a school accountability system that's based on meaningful information about student progress and delivers the appropriate supports for students and for schools who are struggling. We don't believe in failed schools in Oregon. We don't believe in failed students. I'd like to steal a line from Dennis King, who is a professor who was recently out here in Oregon offering training for teachers up in Astoria. And he said, how do we use assessments to help children learn? A test is an autopsy. An assessment is a physical. Or from my background, I would say it should be a diagnostic tool. Well, I'm done with NCLB autopsies in the state of Oregon. I'm sure you are too. The outcome measures that we will adopt together, the achievement compacts that we will develop, will use assessments to diagnose the educational ills so that we can prescribe the right solution student by student. These achievement compacts that will be between the Oregon Education Investment Board and your local educational institutions are not, in my view, abstractions. They are key to our success in teaching and learning and building success for our students, and they will define the outcomes that we expect for the investment of state resources. And these compacts will embody a tight-loose model that is tight in terms of the outcomes that we expect in return for the investment of public resources, but loose in providing the flexibility that our school districts and our institutions need to actually achieve these outcomes for all students, again, regardless of race, regardless of home language or disability or family income. Now, this is a sea change for our state, and it's also a sea change for our relationship. And I see these achievement compacts as living documents that signal a new partnership between the state board and your local boards as we negotiate the goals, as we assess progress, and as we hold each other and ourselves accountable. With these compacts in place next year, the 2012-2013 school year, to get the first year of data, we should be able to start measuring progress in the 2013-15 biennium. School districts and post-secondary education institutions that are achieving these goals will probably receive additional flexibility. Those that are not will receive additional support rather than punitive measures that might include things like helping implement best practices or peer-to-peer mentoring or helping with leadership and professional development support or capacity building. So your roles as local school boards are going to be more important than ever as we try to develop a constellation, suite of supports that are targeted to your specific schools, to your specific districts, targeted to make sure that we lift the whole system up, that we don't punish individual schools, individual districts, or individual students. I've asked educators at all levels of our system to not view themselves in silos anymore, but rather in the context of the entire enterprise of public education, from early childhood through post-secondary education, and as active participants in helping pull our children along through their educational pathway. So a few questions to think about. How well are you preparing your students not just to accumulate enough credits to graduate, but with the content knowledge and the cognitive skills and the academic behavior and motivation to actually enter college truly ready and prepared? How do your students fare in college career after they've walked across the stage and received their diploma? Are your community colleges and your universities really reaching back down the pipeline, working with high school students and even students in younger age groups to make sure that they're building that college-going culture, to make sure that there's a seamless transition between grade 12 and the freshman year, and to help them graduate from high school with college credits, and who knows, maybe even an associate's degree under their belt. These are urgent challenges facing our state, and at times like these, it's very, very important that we remain focused on the children, on our students. It is their one shot at getting a quality preschool experience. It's their one chance to earn a high school diploma. It's their one opportunity to get the post-secondary education and training that they need to launch themselves into successful careers. And the fact is, they can't wait until the economy recovers. They can't wait until Oregon finally reforms its system of public finance. These are very, very challenging times for Oregon. I don't need to tell you that, but I hope you also feel a sense of opportunity, a sense of excitement, a sense of possibility. This is a remarkable point in time. I think a once-in-a-generation convergence of policy and politics. And we have the opportunity here in the next few years to do something profoundly important for our children, for our state, and for our future. And we have to seize that opportunity. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate seeing all of you here today. I thank you very much for letting me come down here. I look forward to working with you now and in the future. Thank you for all you do for your students. Thank you for all you do for the state of Oregon.